Tell your story.
Change the conversation.
Organized by students.
TEDx Youth at SHC.
Finding the middle ground is the best way for achieving resolution. I'm guessing not everyone agrees with this statement. Most of you might be thinking, how could meeting in the middle be the best when one side is just right? Well, let me ask you this. What's better, chocolate or vanilla? Those of you who differ in opinions are both thinking you're right, but how can there be two right answers? Exactly. Think about your last argument, whether it was with a friend, a family member, or even a stranger on the internet. How did it end? Did anyone actually win? Or did both sides leave feeling frustrated, unheard, and more divided than ever before? We live in a world that thrives on extremes. Politics is often a battle between opposing forces, each convinced that compromise is a sign of weakness. Campaigns use ultimatums like, "You're either for or against us," and members of the same party often follow a mob-like mentality. I like this one quote by Master Sangon, an important figure of the 7th century. He said, "If you want the truth to stand clear before you, never be for or against." The struggle between for and against is the mind's worst disease. Even in our personal lives, we sometimes feel like agreeing to meet in the middle means you're giving up our values or losing an argument. But here's the truth. The most meaningful progress happens when we move beyond black and white thinking and embrace the gray area in between. Admittedly, this middle ground, the gray area, is difficult to find. And there's a reason for this. Our brains are naturally wired for confirmation bias. We naturally seek out information that supports what we already believe in and dismiss what doesn't fit our worldview. We want to be right, we want to feel validated, and when emotions run high, listening to another perspective feels impossible. But what if we approach disagreements with curiosity instead of defensiveness? What if, instead of trying to win, we try to understand? As a daughter and an older sibling, I can tell you firsthand that trying to do this leads to the best outcomes and most copacetic family dinners. With a 4-year age gap between me and my younger sister, India, we often don't see eye to eye. Even from the age of 6, we would bicker with each other over sharing toys or who gets to be pushed in the stroller. As for most children, these fights often led to scoldings or lessons from our parents. They remind me that as the older sister, it is important that I compromise and lead with an open mind and heart. One saying I learned from them was, "Put yourself in the other person's shoes." Now, don't take this literally. Squeezing my 6-year-old feet into baby shoes wouldn't be a helpful lesson. But what my parents meant by this was that I need to look beyond my own selfish needs and think about the other person and their situation. Learning the value of empathy extends beyond my sibling disputes and has been incredibly valuable in my middle school and high school years. Surprisingly, even in historical events, we see the value of empathy. Throughout the development of our country, some of the greatest moments of progress have come from putting differences aside and learning to compromise. Take the US Constitution. It wasn't written by people who agreed on everything, but by leaders who knew that finding the middle ground was the only way forward. And the Civil Rights Movement, it wasn't just about radical change, it was about finding ways to move society forward one law, one policy, one conversation at a time. On a day-to-day level, practicing middle ground thinking can change lives. It is the path to repairing broken friendships, strengthening family bonds, and even improving mental health. When we stop seeing every disagreement as a battle to be won, we open ourselves to deeper, more meaningful connections. In a world with more than 8.06 billion people, each with different backgrounds and shoe sizes, It is inevitable that someone will have disagreements with you. In some cases, that person can even be your romantic partner. I've always loved the Taoist Chinese philosophy yin and yang. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. This philosophy, adopted in the 14th century, represents the duality of opposing sides. They are both necessary, like night and day, for the functioning of our world. I was raised by two very different people. My mother, the yin, is very extroverted and artistic, while my dad, the yang, is introverted and logic-based. However, despite their differences in character, they have found comfort in sharing one key value: their children. No matter what the case is, my parents want what's best for me and my sister, and I've learned that compromise does not mean giving up on their beliefs, but rather approaching their differences in a brighter light. So, how do we start practicing middle ground thinking? I believe it can be split up in 3 steps. Firstly, listen to understand, not to respond. Next time you're in a disagreement, pause before reacting. Really listen. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this perspective? And remember the phrase, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Secondly, look for overlapping values. Like my parents, even during their most divisive debates, they found a shared value. And once they did this, they were finally able to build bridges. Lastly, accept that compromise isn't weakness. Changing your mind or meeting someone halfway doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're growing. It means you're strong enough to put progress over pride. It makes no sense to lead with an I'm right and you're wrong attitude, because as we've established, everyone thinks they're right. Getting rid of this instinctive way of thinking is not easy. It takes intention and it takes a strong willingness to change. But in the end, it starts with us. It starts with every conversation, every disagreement, every time we choose to find the middle ground. Because the truth is, the solution to our conflicts isn't more division. It's understanding, it's compromise, it's finding that middle ground. Thank you.